Wanna fuck with a real one? Yeah, I know you wanna fuck with a real one. Wanna fuck with a real one? Yeah, I know you wanna fuck with a real one. Hey. 3, 2, 1.
And I'm actually going to get right into it. And you really want to know how.
Yeah.
You know, how can I blaze my own path? How can I be successful?
Back in this thing for another one, guys.
Backwood rolled tight and heavy.
Real Ones Podcast, episode 22.
Sitting on deuces while the blunt burn. Still raping
Sad week, I'm not gonna lie.
All money in, it's just us four. It's just copy, it's just hoggy, it's just rip roll.
A lot of you guys are wondering why we weren't here last week. Couldn't do this on Sunday last week, man.
Yeah, it actually brought me to tears. I'm not gonna lie.
Where you hustle, where you run from the police at? Where you ever represented hope, where the hopeless at? Where you had to take an oath for you sold the sack. Dealt with all the pressure, played it like you never noticed that.
R.I.P. to a fucking real one, man.
Turned into a booming operation, where your focus at? Where your 600 bins, where your rovers at? Where your Cuban link, nigga, where your rollie at? I would rather shoot before I run. Pressure on my shoulder when it's done. You should try and do what we done. Make $1 million while you young. I would rather shoot before I run. Pressure on my shoulder when it's done. You should try and do what we done. Make $1 million while you young.
So if you could tell us how exactly and what deal you did to make your first $1 million.
I'm still searching for my first million.
I can tell you niggas how I came up. Similar to climbing out the grave, huh? Can't be acting like a bitch trying to get saved, bruh. Get that dirt up off your shoulder, step your game up. Can't be chasing pussy, switch your ways up. Can't be fucking off your loot, you gotta save up.
That shit'll get you in trouble.
So you gon' probably fail trying to play us. Streets ain't for everybody, get your grades up.
It's amazing how music allows your voice to just live on forever.
Yeah.
You can pull this up and listen to it whenever.
Yeah.
Hear dude's voice, his ideas,
you was in the house,
you know?
not with the runaway slaves, huh? You wasn't never in the spot when they raid, huh? You ain't really bought it, little nigga, this a phase, huh?
Shit can continue to make an impact, even now.
I've always fucked with Nipsey, but damn, man, like, it's like if I knew he was gonna pass, I would have, you know, it's fucked up, man. Very, very cold day.
You should try and do what we done. Make $1 million while you young. Tell me why you mad, tell me why you mad. I know to you it looks easy. Tell me why you mad, tell me why you mad. This shit ain't easy, believe me.
Shit ain't easy, that's for damn sure.
Victory Lap, man. I'm gonna say one of the best albums in the last 5 years.
I mean, we talked about it, right? On like an earlier episode even. Yeah. Yeah. R.I.P. to a fucking real one, man. Nipsey Hussle. We love you, man.
Tell me why you mad, tell me why you mad. I know to you it looks easy. Tell me why you mad, tell me why you mad. But this shit ain't easy, believe me. Tell me why you mad, tell me why you mad. I know to you it looks easy. Tell me why you mad, tell me why you mad. But this shit ain't easy, believe me.
Yeah. Looks easy from the outside. Shit ain't easy though. I fucking love that song.
Definitely makes you feel something, right?
Yeah. It's just sad though, because it makes you feel some type of way. Like after, you know, after he passed. It's crazy, man. It was so out of nowhere, you know?
Obviously, a lot of you guys are used to us starting the podcast off with a freestyle, but that just didn't feel appropriate today.
No, really didn't.
I'm just going to get this out of the way and say, like, obviously you guys watch this podcast. I'm assuming a lot of you guys do for entertainment, right? And when I think about entertainment, I think about getting away from all the negative stories in the world and all the bullshit that we're inundated with all day long in the news and shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we try to come up with content for this podcast, we intentionally sometimes bypass some of these news stories, especially that are just kind of more of the same negative type of shit. We really make an effort to try to seek the positive shit to talk about, and because we want to have fun, you know. This is a getaway for us. We enjoy getting away from all the bullshit of the work and coming in here and talking about things that are fun and interesting.
This is definitely one of my getaways for sure. You know, we all need to get away at some point in life, you know, just the stresses and everything, the criticism, the negativity. We just got to get away from all that, man.
That's what this usually is for us, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we do have to talk about, you know, real things that happen in life, especially things that, you know, affect us. And it sounds, I know to some people it sounds dumb to say that, you know, I'm affected by the death of some celebrity that I didn't even know. No, you know what I mean? We enjoyed his music, but that's it. Like, I didn't, you know.
It's more than that, though. He was a person. He was such a good person, too, and such a good influence on the youth, you know? And, like, even though he came from the ghetto and from poverty and from the hood, and, like, you got to see through that stuff. Like, he made it, and he put his money right back in the hood. You know what I'm saying? And, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying he came from a bad place because, you know, I know plenty of people from the, you know, hood, as they call it.
I mean, he did come from a bad place.
Yeah, I think that's just, you know, I think when people call it the hood, though, it's just like automatically gives it a negative, you know, a negative outlook when, you know, Nipsey was a great guy, man. It doesn't matter where he came from. He was a great guy.
It just sucks that most people that, even people that were people that don't know him now know him because, unfortunately, of what happened. Right. And people are learning, even people like myself that were fans of his music. Yeah. When we did our Album of the Year discussion back in December of last year, when we were talking about the best albums of 2018, I said that was my favorite album of 2018, even though we didn't think it was going to win. I was surprised it got nominated.
Me too. Yeah.
In my opinion, I think that's one of the top 3 rap albums made in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and I would say KOD's honestly up there too. Like
at least the last few years for sure.
Yeah, it got overlooked, but you know,
I would have put both of those ahead of the one that won, which was Cardi B.
I wanted, if I recall right, I wanted Nipsey to win, but I think I picked Travis Scott, and neither of them won. Cardi B was the one that took it, and you know, I didn't really agree with that. It was a great album, though. I don't hate on Cardi. She's really got the clout now. I'm just seeing I'm wondering how long that's going to last.
Yeah, I mean, the reason, like, I brought that up is just, I feel like it sucks that a lot of times what you see with these famous people is, like, we don't see what they do or appreciate them until they're gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, why did it take his death to bring all this attention to all the other good things that he was doing? Because we talked a little bit about his music. I honestly think this dude was in his prime as a musician. Yeah. But more importantly, and what made him different and what made him really important to music and to culture and everything was the fact that he was in his prime as a human being. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like he was
in his like mid 30s, right?
33.
Yeah.
He had evolved into the perfect example of what to do when you do make it from nothing and you do get to that place. What do you do with that? What do you do with that platform? What do you do with that opportunity? How do you help those around you?
Yeah, and he gave back to the place that he came from. He put a store in his neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? And he was there, obviously, quite a bit, you know, because he was there that day, unfortunately. You know, that's cool. That's really cool, man, to, like, give back like that and actually show face.
But it just sucks, you know, because, like, a lot of times rappers especially the ones that come from, you know, some of the bad neighborhoods, the higher crime areas, you know, they a lot of times catch flack for moving away from their neighborhoods once they make it and not coming back around. But it's
and
like,
this just shows that like you have to get out of there, because your face becomes so well known and you become a target. You become a target for hate, jealousy, greed, you know, and like that all just, you know, it's all negativity that just can
I think jealousy and ego is a big one, you know, and I think if we go by the official story on this one, I think that's probably what it breaks down to. I don't even want to get into all the conspiracy stuff, not because we tend to avoid that, but just, I don't know, man. When someone dies, it's just, there's something about respecting someone's family, their memory, everything like that. A lot of the shit that I saw on social media last week honestly made me sick.
It made me sick. It's got me shook. It's got me like not even really being able to finish my sentences. Like, I'm sorry guys, but it's like I said, this was one of the, you know, this was a death that like brought me to tears. And I know you kind of said the same thing, and it was funny you said that, because when I saw it on social media, it was so out of left field. I was like, is this real?
I was at my mom's, dude. I was over at my parents'. This is 1 week ago today, last Sunday. I was having dinner over there, and we just overheard it on the TV. I think she had the news on, and I just heard it. Rapper Nipsey Hussle shot and killed tonight. You know, I did not believe it right away, but right away it hit me emotionally. My eyes just welled up, and I was thinking about it all the rest of that day.
Me too.
Obviously, we've lost a lot of people, a lot of public figures the last few years. Right. I don't know if it's been more than usual, but it seems like more than usual.
It does, man.
I don't know if that's because of the media and the way the media cycle works nowadays. If these stories, it seems like it's something every week, you know?
Right. And it's
whether
like,
it's an overdose or it's a shooting or whatever it is, you know?
I know, and it's so sad, because it's like you wonder if, like, you know, we're just making targets for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, out of complete respect, but, you know, I know there's rumors going around, I don't know how true they are, about, you know, this all possibly being tied to some type of conspiracy, you know what I'm saying? But I don't, you know, it's crazy. The media is so powerful, and you never really know what they're capable of. You know?
I just didn't like...
I didn't like that at all, but I had to bring it up. I know I saw you over there fucking shaking your head, but, you know, I'm not going to go into any real detail, but it's just sad that, you know, you don't really know what the truth is.
I don't want to talk about something that I don't know enough to have an educated opinion on, you know.
I don't either. I'm just touching on it, that you don't really know if the media is right or wrong these days. You know what I'm saying?
He was doing some important work, and I could definitely see the motive for why certain groups would have wanted some of the work that he was doing stopped.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I don't know anything about it. I'm not going to dive into it, like I said, but I wanted to touch on it. The media is so powerful, and if you have a dangerous enough message, they want to stop it, and that's scary.
Yeah.
You know?
The point I was trying to make earlier is just the fact that, and what made me think of this is I was watching an older interview from him. I think it was from 10 years ago when he was 23, and he said something that just resonated so much with what happened in my mind. Is he said, we are evolving so quickly technologically. Like, technologically, humanity has evolved to this point, but emotionally and socially and spiritually, we haven't caught up. So that's what you see with social media, and that's why, you know, people treat each other like shit on social media, because they don't actually, that's not the way that you would treat someone in real life. That's why there was people posting pictures of him or videos of him laying on the ground, posting pictures of his wife, you know, crying, going to the hospital,
and all
this. That type of
That's
shit,
fucked up, man. Like, respect.
Fuck TMZ, dude. Just
yeah.
The way they just try to get there with the quickness and just put this stuff out right away.
It makes me sick, man. It really does. Like, seeing that surveillance, I couldn't even watch it all. I was just like, I don't want to see this.
Imagine being his kid. The way I think about it is, like, if I'm a 14-year-old kid and my dad gets shot like that, as much as I would hate to see that, you know, we were all caught up in it, dude. I was caught up in it for like 2 days, just searching everything for Nipsey Hussle for 2 fucking days, just like the rest of half of America. You know, anybody who's, you know, familiar, you know what I'm saying, with any of his work or into, you know, hip hop culture or just pop culture in general, you know, like, he was doing a lot of things, and it's hard to find anyone in the entertainment industry that is so universally respected and well liked, you know?
Yeah.
That to me just goes to show the type of person that he was. And I don't know, man. I think that's why
he's never going to be forgotten.
I think that's why it's affecting people a little bit deeper, you know?
Yeah.
I was trying to think about, like, why, like we were saying earlier, like, is this really happening more, or is it just the media that makes it seem like it's happening more? Does it seem like it's happening more to us because some of the people that are passing on are people that were either relevant to us while we were growing up or relevant to us now, where as when we were kids, some of the people that were passing on that were in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, we were in our teens, we were kids, they weren't as relevant to us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the first one that I ever felt any type of connection to, not that it's not sad whenever you hear about anyone dying, whether it's a regular person on the street or a celebrity, it doesn't matter, but the one that really got me the first time, or the one I felt some kind of emotional connection to, was the Mac Miller one.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, we grew up listening to his music. He was the same age as us, you know? So, you know, it's not like I was a die-hard Mac Miller fan, but I definitely grew up listening to a lot of Mac Miller music.
I was a Mac Miller fan. And
I respected him as an artist.
That definitely hit me, too, you know, because I was a Mac Miller fan. I wasn't a die-hard, like you said. Like, you know, I didn't go to all his shows and shit, but, like, he was a great artist, great person, you know what I'm saying? He just liked to get fucked up.
Another dude who I would say had just hit his prime musically, as far as, like, making music with substance.
Yes, he was making such good music, in my opinion, like singing a little bit. It was very, like, bluesy almost, but like rap. And
he said I watched an interview with him. He said he you know, used to be so afraid to sing, and Pharrell was the one that was like, "Hey man, sing man,
yeah."
That's fire, man.
I love Pharrell too, man. Pharrell's awesome too, but yeah, it's just fuck, man. It was a sad week, and
it's rough, man. It's definitely a big loss, to everybody. But the main thing that the reason I want to talk about this, and the main positive takeaway that I think we need to take from this is he left the blueprint and a lot of good examples for how to do things, whether you're, you know, young black youth growing up in America, to stuff that is relevant to anybody, stuff that's relevant to you and me, anybody. Sure. He was all about inclusion and different cultures, and you know, and he showed you how to do things right business wise. He was innovative with the $100 CDs, trying to make artists understand the value of their art, you know.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I think the best thing that we can do in a situation like this is try to honor dude's legacy and try to just, you know, make the things that he fought for live on. I saw Nick Cannon said that he was going to continue his Dr. Sebi documentary, so he's going to pick up, I guess, where he left off on that project and make sure that gets done. You know, he did everything right musically and worked to get to the point where he owned all his masters, and he owns his music. So if you want to support Nipsey and his, you know, message and his family, obviously he left a couple of kids behind, you know, go stream his music, because his family will actually make the money off that, unlike most of these other artists who, you know, get taken advantage of by these labels and end up seeing a tiny percentage of their actual money. If you follow the way he did it, he showed you how to do it right, and because of that, in the worst case scenario, which is what this is, and you got to think he was a smart guy, he was a thoughtful guy, he thought that he ran this scenario through his mind at some point, that this could happen, and that's why he wanted to set things up the way he did. Like, he built generational wealth. Unfortunately, he's gone now, but he's going to continue to take care of and support his family after his death because of the decisions that he made. You know?
For sure.
Yeah, so obviously we don't like to start off the podcast with something this negative, and normally we wouldn't, but this did affect us, so I felt like this was important to talk about. Yeah,
I mean, I was driving home from Tahoe last Sunday when I found out, literally just scrolling through my phone at a gas station while I was fueling up, I swear to God, and it was just like, boom, it hit, and I was like, no fucking way, you know, so...
I didn't believe it at first, man.
I'm almost tearing up right now, so I just want to give a moment of silence for, you know, Nipsey and his whole family, and, you know, everyone that fucked with Nipsey and loved him. So, yeah, just a moment of silence.
right.
Yeah, thank you.
And I guess on that note, we are going to try to just hit a hard left right there and transition things. Obviously,
Yeah.
you know, it's tough to just pick it up without faking it, but we got to do it here. Let's pick up this energy.
Yeah, no disrespect, but
what's good, man?
Shit.
What you been up to? You said you went snowboarding?
Yeah, honestly, a lot happened in the last week and a half, but I'm going to start out with, you know, something that I've always loved. I started snowboarding when I was 5 years old. Actually, I started skiing when I was 4, hopped on a snowboard when I was 5. I can do both, but I've been mainly snowboarding my whole life. And quick little story. When I was about 19, I hit a huge jump, about 60-foot tabletop, huge. I got like higher than the lift, and I hit it, went horizontal because I was trying to do a trick where you have to be on your heels and you have to like slide off it. Slid off too much on my heels, ended up pretty much horizontal with my back to the ground. Boom, hit, broke 3 ribs, couldn't breathe for like 5 minutes. I was like turning black and blue. It was crazy. Yeah, so this little video right here on my IG, I finally faced my fear, and this one's not nearly as big, but this one was about a 25, 30-footer, maybe a 20-footer, I don't know. Still pretty big, popped me up pretty high, but I finally overcame my fear of hitting a snowboard jump again, so here it is.
Let's see what we're looking at here.
It was pretty tight, bro. I hit it.
You're hitting at pretty good speed, too.
It popped me up pretty good. I'm a little wobbly. I do some windmills.
I'd say you're about 8-9 feet right there.
About, yeah, as high as a basketball rim.
How you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it was
you got a little wobbly in the middle, but I feel like you landed pretty good.
Later in the day,
Later
in the day, I hit a tail grab that was nice and solid. I didn't do any windmills with the arms, but yeah, I mean, I'm just happy I landed it. I walked away with no broken bones. I was breathing. It was beautiful up there, and it was my homie Anthony's birthday, 30th birthday. It's getting old.
I'm dreading that shit.
Yeah, he's actually been on the show. Go check out his episode. It's pretty tight. Yeah, happy birthday, Ant.
Shout out Anthony Bananas. We got to have him on the show again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I'm hogging the mic right now, but I had a huge week. I also dropped Got Dough with Neff the Pharaoh on Thizzler. Views are doing all right. Go check that out. It's definitely a banger. I actually really like that song. It's one of my favorite songs that I've dropped in a while. And I also dropped a video on World Star, The Way You Move, featuring Del Treese from the Bay. Go give that a slap too. And that's more of a slow jam though. If you're not into the singing stuff, I get it. Just forget about it. Don't go throw no hate, please.
Is it possible to slap a slow jam?
No, go make love to it. Go make love to that shit.
Go listen to that. I think that's about all you can do with a slow jam.
Go listen to that. But yeah, any plays are appreciated. Any streams obviously are very appreciated. It's available on all streaming platforms. Both songs are. And yeah, with that being said, man, how was your week?
Your boy dropped a track too. I know you guys saw it.
Yeah.
Appreciate all you guys who showed your boy some love on the track that I dropped over on the CCC YouTube channel last week.
That shit slapped.
That was my first shit that I dropped, and I was pretty happy with it. So
Bird of Prey.
Appreciate everybody that has been supporting all of the other shit that we have been doing, podcast. Otherwise, the flower brand has been killing it.
Mm-hmm.
We've been super busy the last couple of weeks, just getting everything ready to transition over to the new lab, which is going to be pretty cool. That's the first time we've announced this on the podcast, but we are going to be moving into a new lab, which is going to mean some really exciting and big changes coming for the brand.
New things, yeah.
Another potential new brand that we'll get to.
That's right.
Eventually down the road.
Who are we brought to by?
We are brought to you by Made From Dirt. As always, Made From Dirt Organics is your go-to if you're looking for medicated salves. This one I have in my hand right here is the Sunflower Salve. Just got a new batch. Haven't even cracked this one open yet, but I will very soon.
I got the peppermint pain salve over here. I also have the sleep balm over here, infused with THC and CBD, guys. Check them out at a dispensary near you. We are also brought to you by TheraLeaf Relief over on Timothy Drive in San Jose. Hey. And they are actually stocked with Terpex right now, and they're getting a fresh new drop tomorrow. They got Fun Dip and other crazy flavors coming. Go check them out. It's definitely good weed And
Yo, that's the first time we've dropped the Fun Dip anywhere. If you are in San Jose and you like our flowers, definitely head over to Theraleaf and try that one out because, in my opinion, that is the best thing we put on the shelves so far.
Yes.
Even though we've only done 15, 20 different strains so far,
right,
that one's my personal favorite.
The Fun Dip is fuego. I do love the taste on that.
You guys know we're a little partial to the grapes, but take my word for it.
I'm super high
particular.
already. That backwood got me fucking lit up, guys. I'm scrambled in my words a little bit, but we're going to keep this motherfucker rolling.
What are we trying to do next? You want to go to some calls?
Yeah, let's do some calls, bro. Let's lighten it up here.
Let's get into it. We're bumping the calls up this week because you guys have liked the calls a lot. For our YouTube audience, those of you guys who are able to interact and comment back with us, let us know what format you guys like for the show. Like, what segments do you guys like better in the beginning versus at the end? Because we've been playing around with it a little bit the last few episodes. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe we do the calls in the beginning instead of at the end. It's usually kind of more what we finish with. But
we're going to tinker with it until we find the right fucking recipe.
We're getting there, though. We are slowly putting the formula together, I feel like.
Yeah, we're getting the recipe figured out, I feel like. So let's go ahead and dive into some calls here. I believe we have Austin from Alberta, Canada up first.
Shout out Canada.
Shout out Canada.
I feel like some of our most loyal subscribers are the Canadian.
There's a lot of Canadian subscribers, I'm not going to lie.
Canadian variety.
What up, Shane? What up, Danny?
What up?
This is Austin coming at you from Alberta, Canada.
Canada.
I know you guys get asked about your favorite strains a lot, but I was wondering if your favorite strains differ from like flower to concentrate, or maybe even you have a strain that you like more in shatter, and one that you like more in like a full spectrum extract, or if it's just kind of all around you have one favorite strain.
Oh my god.
I love your guys' work, so keep it up and keep pumping out the videos for me to get stoned to.
All right, bro.
We will, bro.
I didn't know where he was going with that at first, but that's actually a pretty good question.
Yeah.
So do your preferences as far as like what your favorite shit is, your favorite shit to smoke, does that change depending on what you're smoking, whether that's say you're smoking rosin as opposed to smoking, I don't know, outdoor weed.
Okay.
Those two categories.
Yes.
Does what you're looking for change as far as like the types of strains that you like to smoke?
Yes.
The terp profiles you're generally going for?
Yeah, I would say so.
I would
say, you know, if I'm looking at good depth or like outdoor, I'm gonna look for like a good sour or good OG or good chem, something that's like grows good outside that produces that real greasy terp. I feel like the sun just produces more of that real greasy, like honestly Gorilla Glue is a good example that grows great outside, just super greased up. If it's going to be rosin, you know, I like sativa dabs. I feel like sativa dabs just taste better. I feel like you pull more of that. I think it's limonene. And don't quote me, man. I'm not a terpene master, but I'm pretty sure.
Sativas in general tend to have a lot more of those
fruity
type of terps. In general.
I'm like 99% sure it's limonene, at least one of them. You know, that's in like all the jacks, all the hazes, all the Durban, that real peppery terpene that's in a lot of sativas. And I'm pretty sure that also is at least part of the combination that gives you that like racy sativa feeling is the terpene, limonene, pretty sure. But yeah, I would say it definitely varies if I'm looking at different products for sure.
I think the more you smoke and the more you get familiar with what you like and what you don't like after, you know, trial and error, you kind of do develop preferences. Like if we're talking about bubble hash, there's definitely certain strains that I look for bubble hash, or I get excited about bubble hash when it comes to those strains. I'm trying to think, like, as far as if I wanted to make bubble hash, like you were talking about, a lot of those greasy strains, especially sour. Sour's always been a great bubble hash. A lot of cookie cuts are really good for bubble. The OGKB.
Yeah.
that was always one of my favorite bubbles.
Greasy strains just make good bubble, and we love good bubble.
And when you talk about that sativa thing, a lot of those super fruity, just crazy, really defined, sharp flavors of some of those sativas that really come out nice in the oil and can be enjoyable to smoke in that form. A lot of times I don't like smoking flowers of those particular strains.
Me either. Or bubble, for that matter.
Like this is a perfect example. This Gelinade, it kind of has like that lemon tree or like that like lemon G terp to it, or that tan G.
Right.
That's something in that class of terps. And that type of flavor, for some reason, like smoking that in a joint, just never tastes good.
Dude, I'm not going to lie, though. This shit tastes amazing through a bong. I took a bong ripper this earlier, man. It's fucking fire, dude. Look out for that review coming soon. The Gelinade is fucking bomb.
But yeah, I think our preferences definitely, to answer that question, our preferences definitely change depending on what it is that we're smoking.
100%. 100%.
So we'll move on here. Next one is coming from Tim in Colorado. I'm pretty sure Tim's called in before.
Yeah, definitely. What up, Timmy? Let's see. Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. Okay. It's the motherfucking real one. Coming at you, real one. Yeah.
Hey.
Looking for a feel, son.
Tim with the beatbox.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He's
With the
beatboxing.
Babylon vibes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Babylon vibes. Rolling on a high tide. Yeah. And I'm rolling in my ride. Got two bitches on the side. Like I'm Babylon.
Yo, that's
What
the
up,
first
Dan? What up,
beatboxing
Shane?
podcast.
It's your boy
history.
Tim, Colorado, here with another viewer question.
What up?
First off, I'd like to wish both of you
Are
guys
you in the car, bro?
a great
What's-
first week of the spring. And
It's like
a
raining.
viewer-related question
Whoa.
deals with deja vu.
Sounds like he's by a
And,
stream or something.
Yeah.
Reoccurring dream states in the present.
Oh, he's
So
going
it can
deep.
be anything from losing your wallet to opening your car door, or
This guy's high.
meeting a certain person you haven't seen in a while, but something that takes place in the dream state that then occurs in the present. It can be, a gap from 2 days from the actual dream to even months on end. I know it's kind of a far-fetched question, but I really just had to ask. And other than that, you guys are killing it with the podcast.
Woo.
Keep up the great work.
Thanks, man.
And for the time being, I shall stay faded and stay tuned. See you guys next week. Adios.
All right, dog. Peace.
Another good question. So, deja vu and I guess just dreams in general. So, have you ever had a dream and then you feel like maybe a couple of days later that same exact scenario will present itself and kind of play out exactly the way it did in your dream?
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember a lot of my dreams. I'll go through phases though where I do remember them and then I don't. But with that being said, I'll still go through scenarios where it's like I'm going through something and I'm like, this feels like it already happened. You know what I'm saying? You don't know why or where, and it's probably a dream that I like had, but I don't remember that I had. But now that I'm going through it, it's like kind of registering and like, yo, something that's like this is familiar. Yeah, so I definitely have went through things like that.
The way he brought that up, he talked about the deja vu first and then went to dreams, kind of made me think about it in that way. And what I realized is when I was a kid, before I smoked weed, I had those moments you were just talking about where you just have this random deja vu where it's like, oh, I feel like I've been here and done this and had this conversation before and been in this exact moment. But then I remember I had a period, maybe
You
like...
had a period?
Yeah, I had a fucking terrible period, bro. It looked like a murder scene all over, bro.
Dude.
Yep, in the Cuddy. Remember the Oldsmobile?
Yeah, is that why you got rid of them?
Yeah, dude. You couldn't get the bloodstains out. It looked like I killed somebody in there.
Man, I knew you were a fucking pussy.
Nah, but it made me realize that when I was a kid, I had deja vu. And then around the time I started smoking weed, I had this period of like a couple of years where that shit that he was just talking about would happen, where I would have a dream, and then literally like a day or two later, that exact same thing would happen.
Yeah.
And it was tripping me the fuck out.
Right?
And now it's to the point where I feel like I never really have deja vu or barely any dreams anymore.
It's weird. I know.
The more you smoke weed, the less that shit happens, I feel like.
I don't know though, cause I like went on that cruise and I kind of didn't smoke that much weed. I hit a pen, but that's like a 10-minute high. We all know how that goes. It's like, and I still didn't really dream that much.
Yeah, but it takes a while. I mean, you still had THC in your system.
Yeah.
You're also shit-faced. You're probably not going to...
Yeah.
When you're passing out shit-faced, you're not going to dream very much.
That's true.
You know?
You're right. It's, yeah.
But when I quit smoking weed, we talked in a prior episode about our longest tolerance breaks.
Right.
In Colorado, when I quit smoking weed for like
dream like a
75 days, after like 20, 30, 40 days of no weed at all, I definitely started having
crazy
vivid dreams come back.
lucid dreams.
And I was having a hard time falling asleep.
Yeah, I hate that shit.
No physical like withdrawal symptoms of weed, even though I smoked every
Just,
single
like,
day, high amounts for 10 years. But
kinda,
those were the two biggest side effects.
And kind of hard to eat at first, right? And then you start eating
Not
it,
for
and
very
then you
long.
start eating a ton though.
A day or two, 3,
Yeah.
4 days with that maybe. But
Yeah.
the dream thing felt like it lasted the whole time I wasn't smoking. As soon as I didn't have basically any THC in my bloodstream,
Yeah.
I would say, or in my body, you know, once I was like,
It was like vivid dreams, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was nuts. I was like, wow, I forgot what having dreams was like. And then when I went back to smoking, slowly they kind of faded away. And then pretty much when I'm smoking every day, I don't really have any dreams at all. At least not
Yeah.
the deep ones. Every once in a while, I'll have that like half awake, half asleep, like late morning dream.
Right,
that
right,
like
right.
kind of weird one right before you get up. You don't really know if it's a thought or a dream.
Yeah.
It's weird how some dreams too. Have you noticed this where like sometimes you're having a dream and you just feel like you're just like a passenger, like you're watching yourself, and then sometimes you're having a dream and it's like you're playing yourself in a
Yeah,
video
like
game and you're in
sometimes
control.
it's third person and sometimes you're like watching yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes you're a fly on the wall, but sometimes you're like in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Dude, you could go on about this for hours. It's like, what are dreams? Is it a different dimension?
I love the mind benders.
It's
man.
like, our body's technically like shut down, but our brain's not.
Yeah, it's crazy that we know so much. We know how to do all this crazy shit scientifically and how to break life down to these tiny
Atoms and shit.
unfathomably small fucking atoms, and it's just these tiny measurements that we can break everything in our universe down to.
Right.
And at the same time, we don't even know what the fuck happens when we're dreaming. We don't know what the fuck happens when the doctors don't know what happens when they give you anesthesia.
No.
All they know is you go somewhere for a little while,
Yeah.
and as long as they don't give you too much, you come back.
Yep. And they don't know where you go in a coma. They don't know none of this shit. They don't even know why we're here. Why are we here?
It's weird, man.
Why are we here?
What about people that are born with like memories of like kids like 5 years old that say, oh, I'm Jeffrey,
Yeah.
I'm Jeffrey this, and I died.
And it's like right on.
I'm Jeffrey fucking
Or
Johansson, and I died in World War II in a plane crash
Yeah.
at this spot. And then they're like, this kid's crazy, what? And then they look it up and they find out that was a real guy who did die at that same spot. And there's like, there's no way this 4-year-old would know this, you
No.
know?
Yeah, it's
How do you
crazy.
explain that shit?
I can't.
You know,
Can't.
that's, I don't know, man. I think reality is so much weirder than any of us can wrap our mind around. At least
Dude,
you and me.
The older we get, it just gets weirder and weirder because, like, the more wise you get and the more, like, perspective you gain, and it's just like, this shit's weird, bro.
Isn't it weird how, like, at least this is how it was for me as far as, like, the way I, like, conceptualize the world and what's possible. When I was a kid, you think anything's possible.
Right.
And then I hit an age where I was, like, maybe 14, 15, 16, and you realize, like, oh no, they figured everything out already. Like,
Right.
we missed the exciting time where they figured out, like,
Right.
electricity and fucking light bulbs and how to cure diseases and
Yeah.
medicine, like
They got it
penicillin
all.
and all that
They got
shit.
all the money's made.
Remember when we were kids, it was just like, oh, they figured out everything.
Yeah.
Now they're just making everything better. We got cell phones and shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember distinctly going from like anything's possible to like, oh no, they already know everything that's
Right.
possible.
Right.
Like that if there's no aliens and shit.
Right.
And then I hit an age after that, maybe 10 years later, where all of a sudden where the view was always like narrowing.
Mm-hmm.
My like understanding of what might be possible in
Right.
the universe
Yeah.
for the last 10 years had just been narrowing, and then all of a sudden it's starting to expand again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I feel over the last like 5-10
Yeah.
years especially, I'm like,
Anything,
anything's possible. We don't know shit.
We don't know shit.
We don't know shit. Dude.
Anything's possible. Like, yeah. Like,
we're most likely in the Matrix right
this
now.
could be a simulation. We could be plugged in somewhere right now, you know? Just being the Matrix for sure. Just being a power source for some other fucking, I don't know, using our energy to power another world. Who knows?
We're just on, and
we're a grain of sand, bro.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, is even if we're not some, experiment in some fucking higher powers terrarium, like a pet or something, like a little science project.
Right.
Or it could be something like that. But even if we are what we think we are, we're still a tiny little grain of sand on a speck of dust on a speck of dust on a bubble inside a bubble in an ocean of bubbles moving around, and it's all just a speck of dust on a speck of dust on a speck of dust. And you think about how we break everything that we can like see and touch down into like grams and ounces and atoms, and then you think about what we are on the grand scheme of things. Like I can break this phone down into atoms, and that still wouldn't be each one of those atoms wouldn't be as small in comparison to this entire phone.
Right.
As like our planet would be in comparison to the universe.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy. Like when you just look at like a picture of a neighboring galaxy or whatever, or universe or whatever the fuck. No, you call it a galaxy. Yeah, it's insane. You're like, there's infinite, right, number of these galaxies just throughout the universe, and you're like, I was looking at one of those pictures at Disneyland, just like, standing at Space Mountain, and I was just like, there's a billion of these. There's a billion fucking however many galaxies, dude. And like, dude, there's got to be the life. There's probably like an identical reality. There's probably a Earth identical, right? There's
probably another planet just like Earth
with a different reality going on.
No, there's probably another planet. Like if our theory is true about the universe being infinite, right? If basically this theory that we're operating on right now in modern day science is true, that basically means that there's another planet just like Earth with all the same continents,
with us doing this
place,
exact same thing,
with some guys living in some guys with the same names as us that look just like us, living in another town called San Jose.
Yeah,
and they're sitting down doing the same podcast. There's also a million other varieties. There's one where we're doing the same thing, except for this cup is 1 more inch that way.
There's one where I'm doing this.
Yeah. There's one where we're doing this, but in the lives we led,
I'm sitting there and you're sitting here.
There's one where we've done that looks exactly like this, except for in the live, and we would have no idea, except for if you knew the prior story, that in that timeline you got herpes 5 years ago, and you're not having an outbreak right now.
Don't say that shit. What the fuck?
Not in this timeline.
Don't put that shit on me, man. I'm clean, dog. I get tested.
I'm just saying, man. How crazy is that? We want to talk about fucking
herpes.
All these ideas and that's nuts, bro. Oh, that's you believe in that? That's crazy. No, this is what modern day science believes.
Telling
basically.
Us. Yeah.
This is the best theory we got.
Yeah.
So.
We're going to go on to the next call.
You tell me.
This one right here, guys, is from Steven from Chicago. Chi-Town, the Windy City. What up?
Hey, what's up, guys? Steven in Chicago coming at you with another question.
Coming at you.
So we keep hearing more and more about how indica and sativa is not large enough or not descriptive enough to categorize cannabis. But like every single shop uses indica and sativa. When I went into my dispensary yesterday, the bud tender or whatever the hell you call them, she was like fixated on finding me indicas because I said I like indica over sativa. So what I'm wondering is if indica and sativa disappeared overnight and you too, CCC 420 was left with the task of figuring out a new way to categorize weed, how would you go about doing that? Would you use something like smell, taste, appearance? Would it be one of those? Would it be a combination? Maybe it's something I'm not even thinking of right now. I don't know. I just thought it was a good question. Love the show. Keep it up.
That's a good question. Damn it.
I don't know. I mean,
I'll take
so
it.
basically, it sounds like he doesn't like the fact that people put so much stock when trying to explain to other people who may be uneducated in what is indica and what is sativa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So, yeah, I mean, my best shot at answering this question is, I feel like we've touched on this in maybe different strain reviews or even on the podcast before, but, you know, my stance on indica and sativa is that, you know, it is a marketing tool, 100%. And there is arguments that there is no truth to it, but I personally believe that there are different effects, definitely, with different cannabinoid mixtures and terpene mixtures especially. They say that terpenes are what really drive either a downer type of high or an upper type of high. If I had to recategorize it, I would pretty much call it upper or downer, even though it sounds like, you know, kind of pillish. You know, that's really, you know, indica is like downer and sativa is upper. So you could call it like energy and sleep if you want to get like real bougie and corporate with it.
I think it's just more important to inform people that not all indicas or sativas are created the same.
Yeah.
So just because something grows like an indica does not mean that the effect when you smoke it is going to affect you like a typical indica. In some cases, it may affect you more like a typical sativa would.
Yeah, I actually have a good point. I actually read something that was like, you know, there are people out there that have like flipped cannabis receptors. So for most people who have normal cannabis receptors, for most people that have normal cannabis receptors, you know, an indica or a downer, usually, you know, it hits them like a downer. But for someone who has flipped cannabis receptors, indica hits them like an upper.
So it's like I think it's, what is it, ADHD? Basically, if you have like caffeine and shit like that, it calms you down instead of amps you up.
And amphetamine, like Adderall for ADHD or ADD.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. You know, people have flipped.
Everybody has different cannabis receptors, and I know from experience with others, like there's some strains that hit me harder than other people, and there's some strains that other people love and say they like the effects of, and they don't affect me the same way. So I think it's a little bit different for everybody.
It is, definitely. You know, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot more studies coming out with cannabis receptors, you know, in humans and animals for that matter. I know not every animal has cannabis receptors, but there are definitely animals that do. And, you know, we still don't really know much about what weed really does to the body and the brain, because it's been frowned upon for so long. And now universities are finally being able to actually study the plant and do, like, you know, hopefully human trials. I don't know if there are schools doing human trials right now, but I know there will be coming up, especially when this thing finally tips federally legal. I know there's a bill in Congress right now that's going to finally allow us to start banking, hopefully. So that's good news. That could be best of the week right there, actually. I don't know if that happened this week or, you know, a couple weeks prior, but definitely wanted to touch on that.
Fuck it. Let's hit him with it.
Because that shit's dope as fuck. There is a bill.
Gentlemen, that is your best of the week.
Best of the week!
Hey now.
Yeah. So, hopefully that'll pass and we can start banking, because it's crazy with the amount of taxes they're hitting us with, and we can't even bank. We got to literally take a duffel down to the city building to pay taxes. Like, give me a break.
It's good news to hear that they are finally figuring that out. As Dan alluded to last week, we actually, like I said, made this whole thing up. We were going to do this last pretty much Monday, and we decided to postpone it.
Yeah.
But don't really matter. Last week now, Congressional Committee approves bill to pave way for marijuana banking.
Yeah, woohoo!
And pretty much all we have to say about that is about time.
Yeah.
Like you basically said earlier, they were fine with making sure they taxed it right away from day one, and they're taxing the fuck out of it. And, you know,
crazy tax.
It's made it really, really difficult for a lot of legitimate weed companies that pay more than their fair share of taxes to, you know, do things legitimately with banking and, you know, having to handle all this cash. If you accept a check from a company that is in any way related to marijuana, a lot of these banks will shut you down right away. So
Yeah.
so many people that have, you know, been playing by all the rules and been paying all the taxes are still getting their bank accounts shut down left and right. So
Totally. It's
that's
not-
something that has been needing to get taken care of for a long time.
Figure it out, and hopefully that bill passes. Go vote for it. You know, let's get this motherfucker banking, you dig? And I think we got Defend the Bars this week.
All right.
Hit me with that reverb.
What you got?
We got we got Defend the Bars. Ladies and gentlemen, Defend the Bars.
What do you got for me?
This week I got Ghoulish. It's a Pusha T diss by Lil Wayne, and the bar that I picked
What's Lil Wayne dissing Pusha T?
is, I don't know.
Oh, because he's Drake.
Oh yeah, he was going at Drake and all that bullshit. Yeah.
That must be why, right?
The bar is fuck Pusha T and anybody that love him. His head up his ass. I'ma have to headbutt him. Ooh. Defend that shit.
I mean, I see what you did there, but
So like you got to think about it in literal terms. So Pusha T has his head literally up his ass, and Lil Wayne wants to headbutt him.
I mean, okay, first I think it's important to say at this point, all right, if you're going to read me a questionable bar from any rapper and I'm going to go into it giving them the benefit of the doubt, Lil Wayne's number one on that list because nothing he says in a song is ever really going to surprise me, right?
Yeah, no,
Especially like Lil Wayne the last 15 years of his career.
Like the rapper.
Yeah, there's nothing Lil Wayne could say that would surprise me lyrically.
Right. I feel you.
So
I picked a pretty easy one then. Go ahead and try and,
I mean, I don't think it's good.
It's
I'm
a terrible
looking at this,
bar.
Head up his ass, I'm going to have to headbutt him.
Like, I love Lil Wayne, but I'm sure Pusha T heard this and was laughing. Like, really?
Yeah.
That's what you got? That's not good, man, especially for a diss.
I mean, Pusha T has probably taken the crown for the best diss tracks in the last, I don't know, put a timeline on it. Recently, in recent memory, nobody has bodied another rapper on the track as hard as Pusha T did with Drake last year.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I'll tell you what, bro. This Gelinade is so loud.
Getting you lit over there?
I love it. I'm not going to lie. This could be my strain of the week.
There you go. What else we got left? Shit. Conor McGregor. He retired. You see that?
Yeah, I did, man.
It's kind of...
I mean, I saw it coming. I'm not going to lie.
You did?
I mean, I knew his time was coming to an end, especially,
I don't think it's real, honestly. I think it's just a negotiating tactic.
He's gonna come back with a fight, and it's gonna be like his biggest fight ever.
He's trying to get more money. I think for a long time he wanted to get a piece of ownership in the UFC. I think if he would have won that last fight, he would have had some leverage to potentially be able to do that. But
dude, so fire. Sorry.
I think I don't know. I think at the end of the day, when you look at most of the things he's done throughout his career, especially since he, kind of rose to fame, everything is a publicity stunt. Everything is calculated. There's a reason for everything.
Well, yeah, anytime something hits the headlines, there's a motive behind it, right?
Yeah, but Dana played it cool. He's just like, yeah, I wish him luck. I probably would have retired if I was him too. He's selling whiskey now and all that shit. Yeah. I don't know. I'd be curious to see how much money and all that he's actually making from all that shit. But
yeah,
based on his lifestyle and what he's done up to this point,
right?
I think I could easily see him going through the money that he made. Even though he made a ton of money in the last couple of years, I could see him going through that if he doesn't pick up either a second career or go back to fighting, which if I had to place a bet on it right now, I'd say he'll be back in the ring. I'd say probably even this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's going to go through it quick, man, because he definitely, acquired a lifestyle that's very expensive to upkeep.
Yeah, and I think that lifestyle, like living that instead of being like broke and hungry and having nothing to do other than train and focus on fighting, that's when he was good. I don't think he'll ever be that good again as long as he has 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Right.
Fighting more like you can be a great basketball player. I think Michael Jordan maybe did that for part of his career where he didn't love the game as much.
Right.
And he was kind of playing with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and still being the best in the world, you know? But most people can't do that, and in most sports you can't do that. But the number one sport that you can't be, not fully committed to is a combat sport.
Right.
So.
You can't have like mediocre, commitment in something like a combat sport. Like you're gonna fall quick. So.
Which is what happened,
It's definitely what happened, but I do agree with you. I think it's some type of stunt where he's going to try and come back and, like, get the fucking biggest fight of the century.
I think it's pretty smart, too, because if you think about it, like, as good as he is, he's lost his last 2 fights now, even though one was a boxing match with Floyd Mayweather. Some people don't count that, but the fact of the matter is he's 0-2 in his last 2 fights. If he would have came back and fought next month and lost again, it would be really hard for him to leverage. And I think if he accepts being like taking just a lower quality fight and not being like the main event on a card, or something like that. Right. If he were to lose 3 fights in a row or whatever,
not good.
And his marketability just keeps going down. So I think he's maybe worried about that. So maybe he will take some significant time off. But I'll bet you my left nut Conor fights again.
Yeah, I guarantee it, dude. I mean, I guarantee it. We will see him fight again. He's not that old. And he's a competitor, so let's just wait and see on that.
Yeah. So that wraps it up for the news. What else we got left? Ideas?
Ideas. Yep.
All right. Well, I don't know if this is a idea or not, but this is one of those things that pisses me off, and something that just an epiphany that I had the other day. Something I realized. That is that I will never own a car that automatically turns off when you stop.
Dude, I hate those.
I fucking hate that shit,
Oh my God,
dude.
I hate those, dude. So yeah, I'm gonna whenever I take my Beamer in to get it serviced, I get like a loaner, and it's always one of those, dude. And I hate them.
Yeah, I
hate them.
I rented one time, and it drove me nuts. It drives me nuts when I have the windows down and someone pulls up next to me and their shit does that.
Yeah, I know.
And the fact that like when you're in someone's car that does that, it's not smooth. Like okay, you got to wait till there's no rumble to start the engine, like some electric shit or something,
right?
In order to do that, you know what I'm saying? But on a gasoline-powered vehicle with a real engine to just be turning on and off like that.
It can't be good for it, right?
I mean, they must have run tests, and it must be good. That must be the reason they do it, right? To save on fuel economy.
I feel like your starter's going to just go out so quick.
What the fuck?
Right?
Like, all I know is every time I've driven one, every time I've been in one, every time one pulls up next to me.
I hate it.
I fucking hate it. And
fuck those things.
And, like, they're already starting to make... manuals disappear. Like a lot of cars you can't even get in a stick version anymore. And I'm afraid that in 5 or 10 years.
You know what makes me sad? You can't even get a fucking M5 now or 6.
Past a regular stick.
Dude, I'm so high. Past 2016, I believe, or 17 or 15, one of them. You can't get an M5 or 6 with a stick shift 6-speed. Past those years anymore. It's so sad. Like 2018 and 19 for sure, just like paddle shifter automatic only. It sucks, man.
Damn.
Because those cars are badass. And I get it, like that's a lot of power to have on a transmission. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the problem. I think I remember hearing it's like so much power out of those M motors were just blowing trannies. But dude, that was so fun to have a 6-speed with like 600 horse. Turbo, like, oh man, twin turbo V8 with a 6-speed.
Yeah. But I'm just afraid they're gonna keep taking our options away, and it's gonna make these toys a lot less fun. I'd say within 5 years they're gonna make all those new cars have that fucking automatic stop-start shit.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna within 5-10 years after that, they're gonna take away your steering wheel.
Yeah.
And then everything's gonna be self-driving.
Yeah.
And then within I'd say the next 15 to 20 years. There won't be anyone driving cars.
You know what you're going to do?
Bro.
You're going to get in your car and you're going to type your fucking address in your phone. Or if your phone's on your fucking palm by then, I don't know. So you're going to type it in somewhere on your phone or body. and it's just your car's gonna take you there.
Right. So
Yeah.
next time you're in your car, just pissed about the fact that you have to drive somewhere.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, you
Fucking
know,
enjoy it.
There's so many people that, oh, I hate you're stuck in traffic. Oh, I hate driving.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it, because if you're lucky enough to live to see the day, if we're all alive 20, 25, 30 years from now,
Right, negative.
no
Nancy.
one's going to be driving cars.
No, I feel you.
So just appreciate it in the moment, you know?
For sure. Yeah, great one. That's fucking,
Especially if you have a cool car.
Yeah.
Especially if you have something that's fun to drive.
If there ain't no cops around, fucking gun that shit. Fucking blow that motherfucker out.
Yep.
Yeah, so my idea actually, so I was watching Mr. Fab's Instagram the other day. I was scrolling through and I found a video. I think maybe even you might have been there when
I love Mr. Fab, bro.
He's so funny. He's a real one too.
He's a positive ass dude too,
Positive
man.
ass guy. We grew up listening to his music, and I fuck with him. He's just a good guy.
Mr. Fab.
And this little Instagram video he made just resonated with me, especially with, you know, some of the shit that I've been going through. Obviously, like, I put you know, a video out on World Star that was definitely geared more towards, like, you know, I would say maybe pop and like women, but I just said fuck it and I went for it. And like the like to dislike was great, but the comments were kind of harsh, which I honestly I saw it coming from.
World Star is a tough crowd for that type of music.
Super tough, but you know, I saw it coming from a mile away, and I was prepared, and I'm still very happy with how it did. It did about 90K in the first week. I believe it's at like 89.5 right now. But anyways, Mr. Fab, he was just talking about how, like, in the 90s and early 2000s, and even like I guess the 80s maybe, he didn't really specify, but he said like there was a day in hip hop and, like, you know, just culture where you know, you see a guy drive by in a fly ass whip, and you're like, damn, you congratulate success and you congratulate people floss, and you're like, damn, that's sick as fuck. One day I'm gonna have that, you know, and you look up to that. Now a guy drives by in a dope whip and it's like automatically like, oh, he's trying too hard. Oh, wait till I get my cash, man. Wait till I get my cash. And it just comes from, like, jealousy, self-hate, and greed. And, you know, it's sad, man. Like, we need to get back to congratulating people for trying to live their best life and do what makes them happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, where along the lines did we, like, start hating on people for doing what they love? And, you know, I'm not just talking about musicians doing music. It's like, people get hated on for doing what they love every day and exposing themselves, putting themselves out on the line. And, you know,
it's just the internet, man. It's
really sad.
It really goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the Nipsey quote, where he was just talking about, like, our evolution as far as, like, human compassion is not developing quite as fast as our technology.
Right.
You know, one is ahead of the other. And if the other one was ahead, you know, if our evolution as far as how compassionate we are with each other and understanding, you know, with our fellow humans, you know, if we were more developed in that area and maybe a little bit less technologically advanced, you know, especially as social media gets introduced to the equation, I think it would be a lot different thing, you know. But
totally.
There's just, you know, there's a lot going on in the world, no matter where you live, no matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're so connected. So if something happens, you know, in Europe, you hear about it.
Yeah.
If something happens in Africa,
right,
you hear about it.
Whereas
you know?
before it was kind of just like muffled because there was no social media voice.
And
now
like
it's
world news and
global,
just, yeah, all that stuff. Like, if our problems used to seem so much smaller because they were local.
Right.
It was with our own group and our own people in our area.
It's much harder for the media to twist the story now because social media gets a hold of it, and the truth comes out, kind of. You know,
150 years ago, if you lived in America, you wouldn't be worried about what's going on in the Middle East.
No.
You know.
Right.
So,
but now there's eyeballs on it, so
yeah. I mean, it's just I'm not even sure how I got off on that or how it relates back to your point, but I don't know. I just think there's a lot of social consequences that were, I think, unintended that go along with the internet and social media. And like I still don't think we know yet what all the implications of that are going to be.
We don't.
You know?
But
especially with the youth, man, especially with kids. I think there's a lot of studies starting to come out now where they're saying that it just rewires your brain and your social
capacity
and your reward systems in your brain. Like Facebook came out and admitted that they knew that it was bad for you, and there's like psychiatrists and people that are doing these studies that are coming out, and they're saying it's really bad for like kids' social development and all that shit. So I don't know. I think hopefully it's going to be something that we become more educated as time goes on, and it's going to be another one of those things that we have to balance, right? Because obviously you want free speech, you want internet freedoms, but at the same time, there needs to be some kind of regulation or some kind of change in order to just make it more of a positive experience, because that's what it should be, right? It should be a tool to access information, because the world is a better place when everyone has access to the correct information. Not the information that they want to present or the information that they want to present, but the truth. The truth. You know?
Which is tough to find on the internet. Trust me, we're not backing ourselves into a corner. We're not saying that. It's still the issue. It's still pretty tough to find the truth on the internet, because the media does get a hold of things and twist it before social media gets it, you know, or they just play off of social media and twist it their way. But you know, back to the root. Shout out Mr. Fab. Spread that positivity. You feel me? Everybody could use a little more positivity. I know that for a fact. So
yeah, even if you don't like his music or rap music, you should just still check him out on Instagram. He's a good follow. He's just always putting out like interesting shit that's thoughtful and will maybe spark a thought in you, or at least some shit that's motivational or positive, you know. So he's one of my favorite people I follow on IG.
Me too.
Shit, I think that about wraps it up for this one, huh?
Guys, we are also brought to you by Pipe King. Go check them out online. They are a heady online, and they have a few stores in SoCal. They're a heady glass retailer. Use our discount code Purple Kush online to get your 25% discount.
You see this nail right here? They sent me this last week. This is their new nail. You see it? It's got their sick shit on the bottom with their logo in the middle.
Yep.
This is the new Pipe King nail, and I've been using this thing the last couple of days, and it kicks ass.
I like it.
I really like it.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's affordable. So check it out, definitely, and go use our code. Like I said, Purple Kush. That is all lowercase, right? All one word. Purple Kush. Go ahead and smoke some too if you got it. We're gonna smoke up right here. I'm gonna pack a bong rip, and we're gonna just ride out in honor to Nipsey Hussle and his family. We're going to play Loaded Bases right here and ride out. Thank you guys for joining us for another one. I'm Danny.
Yep, and like I said, go support this man's music, and, you know,
Loaded bases, that's my motivation.
Look into how you can support his causes and some of the things that he was doing.
Got me feeling over anxious like a home invasion.
Go to themarathоnclothing.com to support his clothing brand. Let's screen this shit.
That wasn't supposed to make it out with the code the matrix. And when they get to speak, it's like a coded language. Reminds niggas that they strengthen all the stolen greatness. We used to shoot at niggas at the mobile station. Full circle, mogul motivation. My self-educated through negotiations. Got these sharks that I'm sitting at this table with afraid to bait me. No 10 on my Mercedes, that's for inspiration. 2 kilos on my neck like the fucking 80s. Westside Slauson Ave, know my demonstration. Born and raised, y'all affiliated. It's really greatness. Riding around like I really made it. Loaded bases, I'm gon' Willie Mason. Yeah. Listen to my ambition, cause I'm on one. Swinging for the
Gelato 41 right
here. Even further beyond into the universe.
Cloud Chaser over here.
Alien Labs. Smoking up. In memory of Nipsey Hussle.
Hope everybody had a good week out there.
I was sitting on my link and I start thinking, nigga ain't gonna make 100 mil off in these streets. More than likely I'm gonna end up in somebody precinct. Even worse than cares front the church, laid off in the hearse, I dealt with it. I ain't just out here for my health with it. I weighed the risk and the reward and sink the scale tipping. Let's all get on one accord and take the world, niggas. Take the money, take the power, and the girls with us. Can't buy that bullshit that they sell niggas. They bring drug heads and jail niggas. Look all these ways they derail niggas. That's why I respect me to the utmost when you see me. That's how I feel, nigga.
Real shit,
I ain't
man.
fail niggas. I seen it coming, did not tell niggas. Different lanes, same passion for the male niggas. Switch lanes, all black, 2 glass ceilings. V12 too fast, nigga. Gone.
Listen to my ambition, cause I'm on one. Swinging for the fences for
This makes you feel something, right? That's the mark of good music.
Yeah.
This will always make me feel something, you know?
Yeah. I like CeeLo Green too. He's got a good voice.
And that's his gift to the world, you know? Along with other things, we'll have this forever.
That's right.
That's pretty fucking sick, man.
Yeah. Shout out to a great man and a real one, Nipsey motherfucking Hussle. Thank you guys for joining us this week for episode Deuce of the Real Ones podcast.
Yep. If you have a question for next week, definitely send it into our email, thecc420@gmail.com, the CCC420 at Gmail. Send them in.
Do it to it.
And we'll be back next week with another one.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Peace.
I don't wanna trade places. Backwood hit you in the chest like Stockton. Weed too loud, homie, I don't hear 'em talking. Drip on splash like my name Klay Thompson. Get up on the mic and I'm Charles Bronson. On the blacktop, playing with the whips, call it Matchbox. Rag top, rolling with the gas in the stash spot. Real one since I came up out the same.